Thank you.
All right.
Welcome to the Wednesday, October 14th, 2020 meeting of the Lower Southampton Township Board of Supervisors. It's a public meeting. The meeting is being held via teleconference virtually tonight. The meeting was advertised prior through all the available outlets that we were going to hold it via teleconference and have virtual meeting. This is Ray Weldy, Chairman of the Board. Also present is Mr. Ed Shannon, Ms. Sue Cummings, Ms. Deborah Kaplan, and Mr. Kim Koutsaratis, along with the remainder of the cabinet. If we all could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Prior to tonight's meeting, the board held a couple work sessions. Our first work session was held at 5:45 p.m. with the chiefs of the Lower Southampton and Feasterville Fire Company. During that meeting, the board had a discussion with the chiefs about the dispatching of fire calls and some other issues that came up. And the board also then advised the fire chiefs to participate in a meeting with the fire marshal and discuss the matter further. After that, the board then transitioned to the budget workshop at approximately 6:35 p.m. During the budget workshop, the board heard budget presentations from the township manager regarding the streetlight budget for 2021, the fire protection budget for 2021, the fire hydrant budget for 2021, the general obligation budget for 2021, and the debt service budget for 2021. After the budget workshop, the board then held a regular workshop and discussed all of the items on the agenda, what we was going to come up in the manager's report, and a small change to the agenda. Under the consent agenda, item number 1, F as in Frank, the escrow release for Mark Hansen was amended to read $4,477.81. After speaking about the agenda, the board then began this public meeting. First on agenda would be public comment. The public was invited to send their comments in via email, and I'll ask the township manager if there's any public comment to be read into the record.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
We have a couple. As far as this one is from Mary Jane Bamberski, 560.
We're breaking up big time.
Joe,
Yeah,
I can
can't hear you.
hardly hear you. There's a lot of
echo
feedback.
or something, Joe.
Yeah, Pete, could you assist?
That's better.
That's better.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
Okay, so Mary Jane Bamberski, 564 Feaster Avenue. This is in regards to 627 Bustleton Pike. Good evening. This restaurant continues to play banging, thumping music. This has been going on for 2 weeks. Happening right now and last night, and also Saturday night. I have called the police. We have called the police, and I've also emailed the zoning office this morning and again. And I was directed by a police officer who was at my house last night. She followed up with a second email, basically stating the same thing, that at this particular address, 627 Bustleton Pike, loud thumping music being played again. Spoke to the zoning board on this matter, or the zoning office on this matter, and they have met with the owners. This was supposed to have stopped. Called the police again. On this particular one, I think today the zoning office, or basically the zoning official or zoning officer, as well as the as Kevin Kirk, as well as the fire marshal's office in the Bucks County. I believe on the food service side, paid them a visit, and they're supposed to be complying with regard to taking down their tent, as well as the stopping of the music.
Joe, is that shawarma restaurant or somewhere around there, the 600 block?
Yes, it is, sir.
Is
So
that what it is? Okay.
yep. So we're gonna continue to watch and do what we have to do. And if it turns into a legal matter, we're gonna do what we have to do to give the residents peace of mind. All right. As far as the next question,
Oh, is
Yes,
this a
sir.
restaurant or is it
it's a restaurant.
does it have a liquor license?
No, it appears to be a takeout, like a takeout where you could sit there under the tents type restaurant. I don't believe they have a liquor license. I'm not aware of it. Let me say it that way.
No,
Is
Okay.
it a BYOB maybe?
no,
It isn't.
Okay.
it was handled. It'll be firmly handled by Monday at the latest.
Okay.
Thank-
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
All right. The next one is from Rocco Filato from Brownsville Road. Good evening. A friend of mine was terrorized by a roving bike gang last week. This first encounter, not knowing this has been an ongoing issue, left my friend very traumatized and physically shaking for hours, fearful that his car would later be vandalized since this gang appeared to be filming or taking pictures of their actions or his actions. A police report was filed online, and my friend was contacted and advised they are aware of the situation and that the gang has already been warned earlier that day. Has there been any progress in curbing this gang's behavior? Is there anything in particular the person being assailed upon should do or note about an incident? And that's from Rocco Filato. Chief, did you want to?
You bring that up, Joe. There was a complaint that I saw posted over the weekend from the owner of Kazak 2 Dance Studio, which is down in Trevo Shopping Plaza, where she said that between classes, the young girls that come to the dance studio wait outside for the class that's inside to finish. They can't all go inside because of social distancing. And these young girls were waiting outside. And while they were out there, this crew, I don't know if it's the same crew or a different crew on bicycles, were using filthy, disgusting language towards these young girls, describing their body parts and so forth. And it was traumatizing to these girls. And the lady said that, I don't know whether it's true or not, but she said that she called the police, and the police said that they have a right to free speech, these kids, and they can say whatever they want. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it's the same type of complaint in the same area along Brownsville Road there. I don't know if they're related or not.
Okay. We actually sent an email to the officers this week, take a zero tolerance policy with these kids. I'm actually annoyed with it myself. Two, we need people to stop sending us messages on Facebook about this stuff and just call the police as it's happening. A lot of times we're getting information a couple hours later, and it's not a whole lot we can do with it. So I would urge people, when they have interactions with these kids like this, to call us right away so we can send a car and deal with it. The business owners should call us too. If the kids are loitering out front or blocking the entrances, just let us know. We'll come take care of it.
Thank you, Chief.
It sounds good.
Okay, the last one that we have for tonight comes from Mr. Dan Luongo, 434 Fox Hollow. He has like five questions in his listed here. It says policies. What is the township police policy on the following? Group public protests. Is a permit required for a protest? When and where are protests permitted? Number two, what is the local law on a resident protecting his own property and family from protesters? It says CCP gun owner. Number three, what does the governor and Harrisburg have on Lower Southampton police policies relative to protests, etc.? What type of response can one expect if the police are called because of a mob or protest disturbance in one's neighborhood? And lastly, question number five is, what recommendations can the police give regarding a mob or protest incident, either in person or in vehicle on a township road? Chief, did you want to weigh in some of these comments or questions?
Sure. we don't really anticipate any problems of any kind of mobs or protesters from the township. My suggestion would be, if this gentleman happens to run across a mob, he should probably turn around in the opposite direction for his own safety. We had several officers from Lower Southampton that are assigned to the Bucks County Major Incident Response Team, whose sole purpose is civil unrest and crowd control. So typically, at any given time, there's at least one or two of those officers that are on duty in Lower Southampton that can coordinate a response if we had a situation like that.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
That's all for tonight, as far as the comments.
Thank you, Joe. If we can move on, then item 1 is the consent agenda. It's rather long. The consent agenda consists of item 1A, approval of the minutes from the September 23rd, 2020 meeting. Item 1B, approval of the budget minutes, September 23rd, 2020. Item 1C would be approval of accounts payable October 14th, 2020, except for vendor number 5298. That's 5298. I believe it's on the second page of the payables. The vendor is Genova Burns. There are 2 separate expenditures in there. One is for the police and a drop matter and things like that. And then the other one is for a $3,534 payment for a township personnel matter. I believe that vendor 5298 and the $3,534 personnel matter will be severed from the consent agenda and voted on separately, if I'm not mistaken. Item 1D would be ratify approval of accounts payable October 7th, 2020. Item 1E, ratify approval of certain reoccurring monthly bills October 7th, 2020. Item 1F is in Frank, approval of final escrow release for Mark Hansen, 2828 Creek Road, in the amount of $4,477.81. Item 1G, approval of escrow release for Watts Properties, 1704 Bustleton Pike, in the amount of $300. Item 1H, approval of escrow release for Monica Arist Touch, 115 Enfield Road, in the amount of $203.75. And item 1I, approval of escrow release for Children's Planet Inc., 618 Lawler Place, Philadelphia, in the amount of $300. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda except for the vendor 5298 personnel matter that I had mentioned?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Koutsaradis. Is there a second?
I'll second. Okay, sorry, Kim.
Deb, seconded by Ms. Kaplan. We'll do a roll call vote as we've customarily been doing in our virtual meetings. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Koutsaradis?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And this is Ray Weldy. I vote yes. So the consent agenda minus that one severed item passes with a vote of 5-0. Now I'll move to that severed item. The consent agenda contained one payment under the payables, which was under item C for vendor 5298, which is Genova Burns, our labor council, in the amount of $3,534 involving a personnel litigation matter. Is there a motion to make that payment to Genova Burns vendor 5298?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Shannon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Shannon. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Koutsaradis?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I'll vote yes on that. That motion passes with a vote of 3-2. Item 2 on the agenda, approval of change orders for paving. There were 4 change orders that took place for the paving with some additional funds that were allocated for that. If it's
Excuse me,
okay
Ray,
with
didn't
you-
you say there
Yes.
was a drop matter also?
Pardon me?
Didn't you say there was a Genova and Burns drop matter?
We did that.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, Ray
The
Ray was
drop
clear.
matter, The drop matter was approved as part of the original consent agenda, and we severed the
Just,
3,000.
okay, I'm sorry.
Correct.
That's okay, yeah. If, okay, regarding the item 2, approval of the change orders for paving, if it's okay with the board, I'll turn that over to Mr. McDonald for a summary of the 4 change orders. Mark?
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'll go through the 4 change orders. Change order number 1 was the addition of 2 streets, that's Old Street Road and Steel Road, and that was for $59,100.92. Change order number 2 was for pavement markings, which are the double yellow lines and the white side marker lines and a stop bar on Old Street Road. And additionally, the additional concrete curbing for storm sewer work at the intersection of 2nd Street and Rosewood Avenue. And that was for $3,270. Number 3 was the addition of Bridle Path Lane. And this is following the roughly 200 feet of storm sewer pipe that the Public Works Department installed a couple months ago. So we're going to have that whole block. We had that whole block milled and repaved. And that was for $22,981.49. And last, number 4 was for the level coat of paving needed on 6 streets. That was prior to putting down the 1.5 inch of the compacted 9.5 millimeter super pave asphalt. And that level coat was needed so we could have a nice smooth finished product on the roads. The original contract amount was $422,452.95. The total for the 4 change orders was $114,739.89, and that brings the total for the contract $537,192.84.
So Mark, tonight you're asking us to approve solely the change order for the 114,739.89?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions from the board for Mr. McDonald?
Nope.
It doesn't look like there's any. Okay, so Mr. McDonald is asking for a motion from the board to approve an additional $114,739.89 for the additional road paving work that was done. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Biss Cummings. A second?
I'll second.
Oh, good. Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Koutsaratis. And we'll do roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Koutsaratis?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. Ray Weldy, I vote yes, so that change order is approved with a vote of 5-0. Item 3 on the agenda, approval to set up an encumbrance purchase order of $1,500 annually for KPK Development Company, LLC. Again, Mr. McDonald, I think, gave an excellent summary to the board on some changes that have to be made in that respect. So, Mark?
Yeah, this is a company that when we do our different excavations, we have debris, concrete, blacktop, dirt we have to get rid of. This company is local. They're in Fairless Hills, and they have the cheapest prices around for dumping our 6-wheel trucks. And they would like us. They don't want to wait for the money. They'd like to work off of an encumbrance or an open purchase order. So I'm asking for one for $1,500. I don't think we'll use that this year. We may use $400 or $500 this year. But I'm asking for a $1,500 encumbrance a year. So it's the most convenient and cost-effective way for Public Works to discard the debris that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the board? Seeing.
Do we have that budgeted?
That is a budgeted item, Ed.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll second it. Or
Well,
make
I
a
have
motion.
to make a motion for.
okay,
Okay.
I'll make a
We would-
motion first.
Okay, so Mr. Shannon has made a motion to set up the encumbrance purchase order for $1,500 for KPK Development. Is that correct, Ed? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. A second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Me and Sue are on the same page.
Okay. Okay, seconded by Ms. Cummings. Okay, seconded by Ms. Cummings, and we'll do roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. Ray Weldy, I'll vote yes. So the encumbrance is set up for $1,500. That motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Item 4, consider adoption of resolution 2020-31, adoption of tapping fee calculation and schedule of fees for sewer tapping fees. The board was explained sewer tapping fees and the fee schedule for that prior to the meeting in our workshop. And either Mr. Gaudo or Mr. Italia, whoever would like to take and give a brief explanation of what that is.
Well, I prepared the resolution. You
Okay.
had not updated your tapping fees in years. In the process of looking at the fees, Mr. Italia consulted with the engineer and asked that it be recalculated and be brought up to date since it hadn't been done in 13 years. So it's recommended that this resolution be adopted so that the township is properly being reimbursed when people tap into our system.
Thank you, Frank.
Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Frank sealed that. That's good. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions regarding the sewer tapping fees? Seeing none, we would need a resolution then we would need a motion, I'm sorry, to adopt resolution 2020-31 to adopt the new tapping fee calculation and schedule fees for the sewer tapping lines. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved, Ray.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus has made the motion. A second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Kaplan. Thank you. We'll do roll call. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
And Ray Weldy, I'll vote yes. So motion 2020-31 passes with a 5-0 vote. Item number 5, consider adoption of resolution 2020-32, the amended Lower Southampton Township fee schedule. I'll turn it over to Mr. Italia. Mr. Italia has worked very hard to make a uniform and comprehensive fee schedule that the residents can view online should the resolution be passed. So I'll turn it over to Mike to give a summary of his work.
Thank you, Mr. Weldy. So that was one of the tasks coming on board, is to balance the fee schedule out and make sure things were in line. We did some area municipalities to compare where we were. It wasn't really apples to apples, so we were more oranges. So we had to bring that up to par and balance it out. Some of the fees were on the higher end, some were lower, so we kind of made it nice even. The fee schedule was very hard to understand. There was a lot of different line items and people just didn't understand it. So I made it as layman terms as possible so that everyone can understand it. What's nice is you do the fee calculation and then invoice the people so they're not writing multiple checks and submitting wrong fees or anything. I think the resident standpoint, they'll be happy with it from a financial perspective. That's clear, and the contractors, which are usually the most difficult to deal with, will be very happy as well. So, like you said, the sewer tapping was one of the big things. I met with all the department heads. Mark McDonald and I adjusted some of the public works, the frontage things, and then we just made sure all points were covered. And this is a very fluid document that we will probably be reviewing during budget season, just to make sure things are on par with the playing field. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mike. Any board member questions for Mr. Italia?
I was just curious when in our previous meeting, was there some number that was kind of automatic that he looked at, but apparently there isn't. So it's a whole new schedule. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. So then we would need a motion to adopt and approve resolution 2020-32. and the new amended Lower Southampton Township fee schedule. Is there a motion to approve that schedule?
I'll make that motion.
Made by Ms. Kaplan, a second.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Seconded by Mr. Shannon, and we'll do a roll call. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes, and the motion for the new schedule, 5-0. I'd like to commend Mike for his hard work on that. It'll make it easier for everybody involved, including the residents, and I understand that that new fee schedule will be available on the township's website as early as tomorrow. So thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Next up on the agenda is item number 6. Item 6 is to consider adoption of ordinance number 593, adopting the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code. I can turn that over to either Mr. Dillon or Ryan Smith to give just a brief summary of that ordinance. We advertised that at the last meeting.
Well, Mike, we already had this ordinance, but it was a prior edition. It needed updated. When Mike came on board, it was his recommendation that it be done. He worked with an attorney in my office, Bryce McGuigan, and they prepared the ordinance to update it and correct any inconsistencies. And we recommend adoption of this ordinance. And I know Ryan commented earlier in the evening that that he wanted it updated, adopted also.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions from any board members?
No.
Hearing none, then we would need to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 593, adopting the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code. Is there a motion to do that?
I'll make that motion.
Made by Ms. Cummings, a second.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Apologize.
Seconded by Ms. Kaplan. And we'll go down the line again. A roll call vote. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I'll vote yes. So ordinance 593 passes with a vote of 5-0. Item number 7 on the agenda would be adoption of ordinance number 594, adopting the 2015 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code. Again, I would ask Mr. Italia just to briefly speak regarding, because he's been checking out with Mr. Kirk properties and trying to bring properties into compliance. So Mike, if you could just give a brief explanation of that.
Yes, brief, absolutely. So yeah, we were just bringing everything in line with the 2015 code series. We were codifying some stuff up. I'm looking at all the ordinances. This is the one that was outstanding. With us going into the court system, we wanted to bring everything up to a fresh book, which means 2015, and that's the code series the state is currently on. So here we are, just bringing it in line. Everything will be codified the next update through general code, and it just dotting an I and crossing the T to make sure everything's tight and in order, so we don't have any legal missteps when it comes to court.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions from the board? Here?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we would need a motion then to approve the adoption of ordinance number 594, the adoption of the 2015 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, or somebody. Okay, good.
Made by Mr. Shannon, a second.
I'll second that. This is Susan.
Seconded by Ms. Cummings. Thank you. And we'll do a roll call down the line. Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. Ray Weldy? I'll vote yes. So ordinance number 594 passes with a vote of 5-0. Next up on the agenda would be the manager's report. Mr. Gaudo?
Sure. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
As far as the budget workshop, we finished tonight a certain grouping, and it will continue for the October 28th through the end of November. In the payables batch that was discussed earlier was the 2020 tax allocations for both Feathersville Fire and Lower Southampton Fire, based on their budgets, and both entities are compliant with their reporting to the township, so that's good. On the next slide, basically we have the Red Cross blood drive on October 21st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the former District Court building. Please register at www.redcrossblood.org to set up an appointment. It really helps the township and it really helps the community if you could assist. Thank you. The next item is Love Grows at Play Wiki, which will be handled by Matt Gilbert, the Director of Recreation. Matt?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair. I've asked Joe to put this on the manager's report just so we could begin conversation and also put Love Grows on the next agenda for a consideration of a lease renewal. Currently, their lease would expire in May of 2019, which is not coincide with the growing season. They're very interested to see if the board's able to make that determination now. That way, during their off season, they would be completely open to include wording in that lease renewal with regards to the aesthetics and the sight line from the Bridgetown Pike along that entire frontage. So I know it's something we've discussed at other meetings. It's just something I would like to formally bring up and request to be on the next agenda for consideration of a renewal.
And I believe Mr. Dilling's going to look at the language in the lease, and Matt, you'll speak to the Love Grows representatives, some of the concerns that have been addressed by the board, so we can address all of that at the next meeting.
Correct. They've been invited to join the next virtual meeting, so any questions you would like to ask them directly, they'll be there at that time. And you know, anything needs to be worked out between now and then. I hope, you know, Frank and I will make sure that we get it sorted out and that, you know, the board's in the loop and Joe's involved, so it could be smooth.
And maybe
perhaps we can have somebody from the Play with the Foundation Committee to be there as well, if that's possible.
I apologize. They were also invited to, and I've been told representatives will be there at that time. Correct. So everyone will be represented there.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Sure thing.
Okay. Then the other item that we have is that the township probably in late October will be setting up a toy box for Toys for Tots. And that will probably be outside the building. We'll probably set that up so residents can make the contribution as far as the toy. We would like to say thank you to one of our newest business members, Johan Promotions, which have supplied the township with over 1,000 action figures that we are currently holding for Christmas. Next item.
That's really nice.
Absolutely. And the next item is basically the Parks and Rec Department having a pumpkin painting contest. Mark, you want to talk? I'm sorry. Matt, do you want to talk on that issue?
Yeah, this is something new we're trying this year. It's going to be a pumpkin painting contest for children ages 4 to 12. You can use paint, markers, or any other type of arts and crafts to make your pumpkins spooky and festive. The pumpkins are provided free of charge. They're going to be available for pickup on Monday, October 19th and Tuesday, October 20th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Both days respectively, right at 1500 Desire Avenue in our old district court building right next to the township building. We're asking that people submit the photos electronically via email to administration at LSTWP no later than October 28th at 2 p.m. The winners of the contest will be announced that evening with prizes awarded from local businesses. And also just wanted to note the pumpkins provided by Castle's Garden Center. Really glad to see local community businesses giving back to a new idea during these times. Just one more note, the judging categories will be ages 4 and 5. There'll be a category for 6 and 7, 8 and 9, and then 10, 11, 12. So we hope to get a nice outcome and get good pumpkin submissions. Happy
And
Halloween.
Matt, as far as there is no private messaging on this one. You gave
No,
guidance on that?
their email. Submit
Okay.
photo submissions via email. It's just too taxing on the Facebook for organizational purposes. We're just asking that everyone submits via email.
Thanks, Matt.
Correct.
That's all I have for tonight, Board Chair.
Thank you, Joe. Supervisors' comments would be next. So, Ms. Cummings?
Hello, okay. So I wanted to first thank the chiefs for coming out this evening and expressing their concerns to the board. And Joe, big thank you for working on the budget. It's a hard thing this time of the year, and the resources, there's only so much resources, so you've done a great job, and continue to look forward to what you have to present to us at the next meetings. And want to thank Mike for working on the fee schedule. So we're glad to be able to pass that this evening. That was a wonderful, well-needed fee schedule change. And I had the opportunity to tour the Love Grow with Deb the other day, and
Yes.
it was wonderful. They're doing a great job there. We expressed some of the concerns about the aesthetics and the drive-by and things. So they're really looking into that. I'm excited to visit the farm this weekend. They're open for one, so if anybody in the public out, visit their market, purchase some of their crops, all their organic vegetables. And tomorrow is the opening for the Wawa, for the grand opening. So if anybody has a chance to stop in at the Wawa tomorrow, it'd be great. For Mr. Kusaratis is going to talk about the Back to Blue for this Saturday. The weather looks great. So it should be a wonderful day the community. And a reminder that for Ray knows this, school has started. So just a reminder for everybody out there driving, the students are getting on and off the buses, and everybody have a good evening.
Thank you, Sue. And since you brought up the Back to Blue and Kim, I'll segue into Kim. Mr. Kutsaratis?
Sure. As we've been speaking about over the past few weeks, month or so, we have a Back to Blue motorcycle run/rally leaving from the Bensalem Police Department this Saturday at 1 o'clock sharp. We have a lot of great people involved in this. We have the Warrior Watch Motorcycle Club is involved in this. They've also invited the Centurions and other motorcycle groups. We have our district attorney, Bucks County District Attorney Matt Weintraub, and the Bensalem Mayor speaking at the Bensalem PD. We'll be leaving shortly after, going through a short route, ending back up at Russell Elliott Park. With us really not knowing how many motorcyclists we are going to have, it's tough to say when the motorcyclists will arrive. But if we leave around 1 o'clock, I'm estimating we're probably going to be there about 1:45. I've had a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to bring an old car, or I want to bring a truck, or what time should we get to Russell Elliott? Because we want to watch the motorcycles pull in. So I've been telling everybody, get there by 1:30 the latest to be able to see all the motorcycle riders pull in. We've had some help with our fire companies. They're going to have the ladder truck set up, dropping the American flag. We have a DJ. We've had a couple neighborhood businesses donate some light refreshments. Sounds like it's going to be a great time. Hopefully the weather is going to be good. As of right now, it's looking maybe a little chilly, but clear for the most part. So it is a go as of right now. If for some reason, since this is 2020 and you just never know what's going to happen, if we should get a rainstorm or possibly a snowstorm or God knows what, we will cancel it Friday evening, and the rain date would be Sunday. But I mean, as of right now, everything is looking good. I do want to give a big thanks to Matt Gilbert. He's been terrific with me, helping to plan things over at Russell Elliott, to help the DJ and, everybody else set up. So Matt, I want to thank you, tremendously for your help. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. And once again, I want to thank the board for helping, pass this. I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys either. And I just hope I don't forget to thank everybody I want to on Saturday, because I do have a list of people. So we also have some great speakers coming at Russell Elliott to talk. We have about 5-6 speakers. We have a woman singing the national anthem. So it really should be a terrific event. So I hope to see everybody there. Please, once again, if you're not going to ride in the event, try to be there by 1:30. And I look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. Ms. Kaplan?
I'm looking forward to it on Saturday. I'm excited, and it's going to be a great day. I
Absolutely.
predict that the weather's going to be good.
Let's hope so.
So thank you for coordinating that, and thank you, Matt, for helping Kim with that. It's going to be great. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. And also, I also want to thank the two chiefs from our two volunteer fire departments for being in front of us. And I look forward to the action plan that will be put together with our fire marshal. And again, the fee schedule, I'm really pleased that we have that. And thank you, Mike, for getting that together. It was well overdue. And I have to say, I'm from the comments about the so-called bike gang, lack of a better word. I don't know if I don't want to make an assumption if they're minors or young adults. I'm not sure. I'm actually sickened to hear the comments coming from our residents about how they're fear. And the young girls outside of the dance club, the dance studio, that they have to be subjected to that. It's very disturbing, and I'm just not pleased with what's going on with that. And it sounds like they're causing some havoc in our community, and it didn't just start. But when I hear like the comments tonight, the public comments, I'm extremely concerned about this. I'm just imagining how these residents are how they feel, and have young girls to be outside of the dance studio and haven't been subjected to this. It's quite disturbing, and I'm quite sickened. I'm really sickened by it. And yeah, something needs to be done about it. Please call 911, like the chief said, and let's do something about this. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Deb. Mr. Shannon?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't make that motorcycle thing on Saturday. My grandson's being confirmed, so hopefully I can show up later on the day, but hopefully it goes on for enough time for me to get there. But it should sound like it's going to be a great day for everybody. That's great. Thanks, Kim.
No problem.
The pumpkin painting, that sounds like a lot of fun. A lot of the kids are going to have a good time with that one. I just want to say to Peter and Joe, with the financial geniuses that they are, they keep finding money for us to spend. So that's really good, Matt with PlayWiki, he kind of does everything that ask him to do, which is really nice. And Mike, thanks for the permit books. That's great. All the different things that we're hopefully going to make a couple of bucks more. I got a new kitchen going up, so I hope they're not too high, So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And kudos to Mr. Kousaratis for pulling this thing together and hopefully pulling it off. And it sounds like the weather will cooperate. Putting an event together like this and coordinating it is a massive project to coordinate and to contact everyone and to make it go off. So, and to honor our great men and women in blue. It's a great thing you're doing, Kim. So thank you. The Lower Southampton's Veterans Advisory Council is planning to hold a Veterans Day ceremony. Veterans Day this year is on November 11th, which is a Wednesday this year. The ceremony, as it was last year, will be held at 4:30 p.m. in front of the Lower Southampton Township building by the flagpole. The ceremony, we plan on keeping the ceremony small and low key, and not many residents will be there. But anyone will be there will be masked up and maintain social distancing. But we want to do a short tribute to honor the great veterans that have served our country. So again, it'll be 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 11th. Sue had mentioned the Wawa. We're not quite sure whether to call it the Lower Southampton Wawa or the Feasterville Wawa, but the sign at the corner says Lower Southampton. So the Wawa Street in Bustleton is planning their grand opening tomorrow morning at about 7:15 a.m. So feel free to stop by and take part in the festivities. There'll be many people and activities going on there throughout the day. And as everyone's mentioned, Mike Italia has done a heck of a job and made some sorely needed changes and updates to the zoning department, and kudos to Mike for the hard work that he's done to bring our zoning department into the 21st century. So thank you, Mike. And that'll be all I have for tonight. If there's no further business or no further comment, then we would need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I thought you wanted to keep the meeting going, everybody. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kaplan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon, seconded by Mr. Shannon. Roll call vote, Ms. Cummings?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. So motion to adjourn passes with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, everyone, for the meeting, your hard work, and we'll see you on the 28th or this Saturday. Thank you.
Good night.
Okay.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.